The peaceful trader's Captain Zephyr Northwind stood on the bridge of the merchant vessel Starlight Harmony, watching the peaceful blue glow of distant nebulae through the main viewport. His ship carried precious cargo from the Epsilon colony's medical supplies, food synthesizers, and cultural artifacts meant to strengthen the bonds between peaceful species across the galaxy. The Starlight Harmony was painted in soft silver and gold, colors that identified it as a neutral trading vessel. Its hull bore the sacred symbols of the Galactic Peace Accord, an agreement signed by 47 different species who had sworn to resolve conflicts through diplomacy rather than warfare. "Captain, we're approaching the Nexus trade route," announced Navigator Orion Vale, a young officer with bright eyes full of wonder at the vast cosmos. "All systems running smoothly. The diplomatic cargo is secure." Beside him, Cultural Ambassador Lyra Moonwhisper reviewed her data tablets. She was a Xantharian, a species known for their wisdom and gentle nature. Her translucent skin shimmered with patterns that reflected her emotions, currently showing calm blues and greens. "The Peace Summit on Harmony Prime depends on these supplies," Ambassador Moonwhisper said softly. 7 different species have agreed to end their territorial disputes. This cargo contains the ceremonial gifts that will seal their agreement. The crew of the Starlight Harmony represented the best of galactic cooperation. Chief Engineer Cosmos Brightforge was a crystalline being whose body was made of living gemstones that sparkled when he worked. Communications Officer Phoenix Starweaver was a void-born, a species that could hear radio waves naturally and spoke in musical tones. "Captain, I'm detecting something unusual on long-range sensors," Officer Starweaver sang, her voice harmonizing with the ship's humming systems. "Multiple vessels approaching from the asteroid belt. They're not following standard trade routes." Captain Northwind moved to the sensor station, his expression growing concerned. The approaching ships were massive, painted in aggressive reds and blacks. Their hulls bristled with weapons, and their energy signatures screamed of violence and destruction. "Those are Ravager clan vessels," Engineer Brightforge said, his crystalline body flickering with worried orange light. "They're pirates and raiders. They attack peaceful ships and sell their crews into slavery." The enemy fleet consisted of 12 warships, each one larger and more heavily armed than the Starlight Harmony. They moved in formation like a pack of space wolves, their weapons already charging for attack. Ambassador Moonwhisper's skin patterns shifted to deep purple, showing her fear. "Captain, we carry only gifts of peace. We have no weapons, no military escort. How can we defend ourselves, Captain?" Northwind looked at his peaceful crew, then at the approaching threat. In the cargo hold below, thousands of beings on distant worlds waited for the supplies that would bring them peace and prosperity. He couldn't let them down. "Send a distress signal on all frequencies," he ordered. "Tell anyone listening that peaceful traders are under attack. Maybe someone will hear us and help." The ancient Beacon Communications Officer Phoenix Starweaver worked frantically at her station, sending distress calls across every known frequency. Her musical voice carried urgency as she broadcast their location and situation to the empty cosmos. "No response from any nearby vessels," she reported sadly. "The closest military patrol is 6 hours away. We don't have that long." The Ravager clan ships drew closer, their massive forms blocking out the stars. Captain Zephyr Northwind watched them approach, knowing his peaceful vessel stood no chance against such overwhelming force. Chief Engineer Cosmos Brightforge suddenly brightened with excitement, his crystalline body glowing like a small sun. "Captain, I found something in the ship's oldest data banks. There's an emergency beacon installed in our deepest storage compartment. It's ancient, maybe 300 years old." "What kind of beacon?" Captain Northwind asked, grasping at any hope. "According to these files, it was installed by something called the Terran Defense Initiative. It's designed to call for help when peaceful vessels are attacked by hostile forces." Ambassador Lyra Moonwhisper's skin patterns shifted to confused yellow swirls. "Terrans? But humans are just legends. No one has seen them for centuries. Most species believe they never existed at all." Navigator Orion Vale looked up from his charts. "My grandmother used to tell stories about humans. She said they were the guardians of the galaxy. protecting peaceful species from those who would harm them, but they vanished long ago. The Ravager ships opened fire with warning shots, plasma bolts streaking past the Starlight Harmony's hull. The peaceful vessel shuddered under the force of the near misses. "This is Warlord Grimia of the Ravager clan." A harsh voice crackled over the communications system. "Surrender your cargo and crew immediately, or we will destroy you slowly." Captain Northwind made his decision. "Engineer Brightforge, activate that beacon. Even if humans are just myths, we have nothing left to lose." In the deepest part of the ship, ancient systems awakened. The Terran emergency beacon had waited 3 centuries for this moment. It sent out a signal unlike anything the galaxy had seen, a call for help that traveled faster than light itself, reaching into the darkest corners of space. The signal found its first recipient in the void between star systems. A small automated probe, drifting alone for hundreds of years, suddenly came to life. Lights flickered on its hull as it received the emergency call. The probe immediately transmitted the signal. 2 others of its kind, creating a network of communication that spanned the entire galaxy. These Guardian probes had been waiting patiently, maintaining their silent watch over peaceful species. Within minutes, the signal reached something much larger hidden in the cosmic deep. 7 massive shapes floated in the darkness of unexplored space, their black hulls nearly invisible against the void. They were ships of incredible size and power, sleeping giants that had been waiting for this exact moment. On the bridge of the largest vessel, cryogenic systems began their awakening sequence. Admiral Marcus Ironheart slowly opened his eyes for the first time in 300 years. Around him, thousands of other humans began to wake from their long sleep. The human defense fleet was stirring, called back to duty by the ancient beacon. They had withdrawn from galactic affairs long ago, hoping other species would learn to protect themselves, but some beings were too peaceful to fight, even when evil threatened them. The sleeping giants awakened. Admiral Marcus Ironheart sat up slowly in his cryogenic pod, his body remembering how to function after 3 centuries of suspended animation. The command chamber around him was filled with similar pods, each containing a member of humanity's elite defense fleet. Status report, he commanded as his systems came online. Major Diana Stormwind, his second in command, was already at the tactical station. She was a brilliant strategist with steel-gray eyes that missed nothing. "Sir, we received a genuine distress call from a peaceful trading vessel. They're under attack by the Ravager-clad 12 warships against 1 unarmed merchant." Ship Lieutenant Commander Jake Voidwalker, the fleet's best pilot, checked his instruments. "Admiral, the peaceful vessel is called the Starlight Harmony. They're carrying diplomatic supplies to a peace summit. If they're destroyed, 7 species might go to war instead of finding peace." Admiral Ironheart reviewed the data on his command screen. The Ravager clan was exactly the kind of threat humanity had promised to stop. They attacked the innocent, enslaved peaceful beings, and spread chaos throughout the galaxy. "How long have we been asleep?" he asked. 307 years, sir," replied Chief Engineer Nova Starforge, a woman who understood technology better than anyone alive. "The galaxy has changed since we left. Many species have forgotten humans ever existed." Throughout the 7 ships of the defense fleet, thousands of humans were awakening. In the fighter bays, pilots climbed into ships that could move faster than thought. In the weapon chambers, gunners prepared systems that could crack moons in half. In the engine rooms, technicians brought online power sources that burned like captured stars. The ships themselves were marvels of human engineering. The flagship Eternal Vigil was 3 kilometers long and armed with weapons that used technology beyond anything other species possessed. Its sister ships Thunder's Roar, Stellar Wrath, Cosmic Justice, Void Breaker, Star Crusher, and Final Answer were equally impressive. "All ships report ready status," Major Stormwind announced. "Weapons charged, shields active, fighters prepared for launch." Admiral Ironheart stood and walked to the main viewport. Somewhere in the darkness ahead, innocent beings were about to die because evil had grown bold in humanity's absence. "Open a channel to all ships," he ordered. "Attention, human defense fleet. After 3 centuries of sleep, we are needed again." A peaceful vessel has called for our help against pirates who prey on the innocent. We will not let them down." His voice reached every human in the fleet. In response, 7 massive ships began to move. Their engines created light brighter than stars as they prepared to jump through space faster than anyone thought possible. "Set course for the coordinates in the distress call," Admiral Ironheart commanded. "Maximum velocity. Time is running out for those peaceful people." Space itself seemed to bend around the human ships as they prepared to travel. The sleeping guardians of the galaxy had awakened, and they were coming to answer the call for help. "Lieutenant." Commander Voidwalker's hands danced over his controls. "Hyperspace jump in 10 seconds. All ships ready." The 7 vessels of the human defense fleet disappeared from their hiding place in the cosmic deep, racing toward a battle that would remind the galaxy why peaceful species still told stories about the legendary protectors from the mythical world called Earth. The Ravagers mistaketh Ravager clan ships surrounded the Starlight Harmony, like vultures around their prey. Warlord Grimya stood on the bridge of his flagship Bloodfang, watching the peaceful vessel through targeting screens. His species, the Scarati, looked like armored reptiles with razor-sharp claws and fangs that could tear through metal. "Pathetic." Grimya snarled, showing rows of deadly teeth. "These peaceful fools think someone will save them. They sent out some ancient signal, calling for help from ghosts and legends." His crew laughed cruelly. They were made up of the most violent species in the galaxy, beings who had chosen warfare over diplomacy, conquest over cooperation. They had attacked hundreds of peaceful ships, and no one had ever come to help. "Begin boarding operations." Grimya ordered. "Take their cargo and crew. Leave nothing behind." The Ravager ships moved closer to the Starlight Harmony, their weapons charging for the final attack. The peaceful vessel's shields flickered weakly, unable to withstand much more punishment. Suddenly, space itself began to change. The darkness between stars twisted and bent like water, creating ripples of silver light that grew brighter and brighter. Strange energy readings filled every sensor screen. "Warlord!" shouted his weapons officer, a 4-armed creature with red skin. "Something is happening." Massive energy signatures appearing directly ahead. The silver light exploded across the battlefield, forcing everyone to shield their eyes. When the brilliance faded, 7 enormous shapes hung in space like sleeping mountains. They were ships of incredible size, each one larger than anything anyone had ever seen. The vessels were painted black as midnight, making them nearly invisible against the stars. No lights showed on their surfaces, and their hulls seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They looked like pieces of the void itself, cut from the darkness and shaped into instruments of war. Grimya stared at his sensors in disbelief. "Where did they come from?" "Our scouts detected nothing. Unknown, sir." His officer replied nervously. "They just appeared out of nowhere. Each ship is larger than our entire fleet combined." The largest of the mysterious vessels moved forward, slowly, positioning itself directly between the Starlight Harmony and Grimya's flagship. Its massive bulk blocked out the stars like a black mountain floating in space. All screens throughout both fleets suddenly displayed the same image, a human face looking calm but dangerous. Admiral Marcus Ironheart's gray hair and battle-scarred features showed he had fought many wars and won them all. "Ravager clan vessels," Admiral Ironheart said, his voice quiet but filled with authority. "You are attacking a peaceful trading vessel under protection of the Terran Defense Accords. Withdraw immediately, or face the consequences." Grimya's blood ran cold. Humans were supposed to be myths, stories told by weak species to give themselves hope. But here was a human speaking to him from a ship that dwarfed his entire fleet. "Impossible," Grimya whispered. "Humans are not real. They are legends, fairy tales." Admiral Ironheart turned to address the Starlight Harmony. "Peaceful vessel. This is Admiral Ironheart of the Human Defense Fleet. We received your distress call. You are now under our protection, on the bridge of the trading ship, Captain." Zephyr Northwind and his crew watched in amazement. The legends where true humanity had returned to protect the innocent. Grimya recovered from his shock and became angry. The Ravager clan had never retreated from a fight. They were feared across the galaxy for their ruthless attacks on defenseless ships, unknown vessels. Grimya snarled into his communications system. "You are interfering with Ravager clan business. Leave now, or we will destroy you along with the peaceful ship." Admiral Ironheart's expression remained calm, but something cold and dangerous appeared in his eyes. "Warlord Grimya of the Ravager clan, you have made your choice. All human ships. You are authorized to protect the innocent." The 7 human vessels suddenly came alive. The Human Defense Fleet strikes. 7 ships of the Human Defense Fleet transformed before everyone's eyes. Weapons that had been hidden beneath their black hulls opened like deadly flowers. Lights appeared along their surfaces in patterns that seemed to burn with inner fire. The vessels grew larger and more threatening as their war systems activated. Warlord Grimya realized he had made a terrible mistake, but his pride wouldn't let him retreat. All Ravager ships attacked the human vessels. Destroy them all. The 12 Ravager warships fired everything they had. Plasma cannons that could melt battleship armor shot beams of pure energy. Missile launchers sent hundreds of explosive rockets flying through space. Laser weapons that had destroyed countless peaceful ships focused all their power on the 7 black vessels. The weapons struck the human ships like lightning hitting mountains. Bright explosions lit up the darkness of space with such intensity that everyone had to shield their eyes. The energy released was enough to destroy entire space stations, but when the light faded, the human ships hung in space exactly as they had before. Not one scratch marked their hulls. The weapons that had terrorized the galaxy for decades had done absolutely nothing to them. "Impossible!" Grimya screamed. "Our weapons hit them directly." "Where is the damage?" Admiral Marcus Ironheart's voice came over all communication channels, calm and steady. "Your move is complete. Now it's our turn." The human ships began their response. The Eternal Vigil fired a single beam of concentrated energy at the nearest Ravager vessel. The beam cut through the enemy ship's shields like they were made of paper, sliced through its armor like it was cloth, and the entire warship simply ceased to exist. Major Diana Stormwind coordinated the attack from the tactical station. "Target their weapons systems. Disable, don't destroy unless necessary." The other human ships opened fire with precision that amazed everyone watching. Beams of energy struck each Ravager vessel exactly where their weapons were located. In seconds, the entire Ravager fleet found themselves completely disarmed. Lieutenant Commander Jake Voidwalker launched squadrons of human fighters. The small craft moved through space like silver arrows, too fast for enemy sensors to track. They surrounded the Ravager ships, their own weapons trained on vital systems. "This is impossible," Grimya's weapons officer whispered. "Their technology is beyond anything we've ever seen." Admiral Ironheart's image appeared on every screen again. "Warlord Grimya, your weapons are disabled. Your ships are surrounded. You have to choose to surrender and face justice, or continue fighting and face annihilation." The Ravager clan had built their reputation on terrorizing peaceful species who couldn't fight back. But now they faced opponents who were stronger, faster, and more advanced than anything they had ever encountered. "We surrender," Grimya said. Quietly, his voice filled with defeat. "Wise choice," Admiral Ironheart replied. "You will be escorted to the nearest galactic justice station to face trial for your crimes against peaceful species." The human ships formed an escort around the disabled Ravager fleet. Captain Zephyr Northwind watched from the bridge of the Starlight Harmony. As his saviors prepared to leave, Admiral Ironheart, Captain Northwind called over the communication system, "Thank you for saving us. The galaxy thought humans were just legends. We were never gone." "Captain," Admiral Ironheart replied, "we were just waiting until we were needed again. The peaceful species of the galaxy will always have our protection." The Starlight Harmony continued toward its destination, carrying the diplomatic supplies that would bring peace to 7 different worlds. The Human Defense Fleet escorted the Ravager prisoners to justice, then returned to their silent watch over the galaxy. Word spread quickly through space: humanity had returned, the legends were real, and the guardians of the galaxy were back. On duty, peaceful species celebrated, while pirates and raiders fled to the darkest corners of space. The ancient beacon had done its job, awakening the sleeping giants when innocent beings needed them most.